Hello, and welcome to the Makers.dev podcast, episode number 5. Chris, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. Thanksgiving's this week, so getting ready for that. Otherwise, just chugging along. How about you?
Same, also getting ready for Thanksgiving. Was thrown off a little bit. I'm currently in St. Louis having a very small family gathering for Thanksgiving that I'm very excited about. And I'm very proud of how well I was able to pick up and be productive in a new city. Like, I've got my whole setup here. I've got my camera and my microphone, and I've gotten a lot of real work done here. Did my homework for the assignments for Ali Abdal's video making class. I'm getting much better at finding the minimal things that I need to be productive and getting those set up very quickly. Also very excited. I'm talking to you right now on my new M1 MacBook. It's so nice. It's so fast, but the camera's weird. I don't like it. My face in the webcam, I look like a Ken doll or like an NPC. It smooths out your face in a way that I don't like. It looks very unnatural. So, and because it's Big Sur, the link to use my Canon camera as the webcam doesn't work because they haven't updated their software yet. So it's a whole thing. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, I saw that the difference on your Twitter feed, and yeah, it's the 2016 laptop looked way better, which is weird.
Yeah. I'm wondering. I'm hoping that's not something that's hard coded in the M1 chip, that they are doing this signal processing like on the processor, and maybe it's a thing that they could push out a software update for.
Yeah, I think so. Like I think I read that the camera is basically the same camera, so it's just software that's changed. So yeah.
Okay, that's promising. Hopefully they change the software so it doesn't look so terrible. This is one of the things that I'm envious of you being on a shifted upgrade cycle from me. The camera is such an obvious thing that they're going to upgrade in the next iteration of these. That on whatever the MacBook Pros are that have the M2 processor, they're going to put like a 12 megapixel camera up there, and it's going to be great and have automatic bokeh. And people aren't even going to need these fancy Canon or Sony cameras. So for now, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, am I just going to look strange in every video chat I have for the next few months until I upgrade? It's non-ideal and such a trivial thing to be complaining
about. You could always look at so Snapchat has the the Snap Cam, which applies filters to your face. Yeah. You could apply like a worse filter or something.
I'll do one of the face swap filters.
Yeah.
But I'll swap it with a normal looking picture of my own face. So perfect. That sounds great. Or the app. I think that's how you say it. Would also do something similar. That'll be fun. On the areas where it matters, this thing just screams. It's so nice. Editing is just like butter. On my workflow on the MacBook Pro from 2016 that I had before this as an i3 processor, and I had to transcode the video into proxy media, so it's like a smaller version, so that Final Cut could even go through it and play it at normal speed. That's what inspired me to like try to make my own video editor earlier this year, which was just a terrible idea. And then even with that proxy media, it would still choke and it would still crash. It was a pain. And on this regular media, full size, 1080p, I haven't tried 4K yet, but it seems like it would just blow through it just fine. I'm playing it back at twice the speed, and I'm having these weird composite angles of multiple cameras at the same time. Beautiful. And it's such a... There's not very many areas in my life where I feel like it's a straightforward decision of spend money to make more money. That this is a clear area where you can pump money into, and it's making your life immediately better. I feel like when I stumble on those things, I try to pump money into it, and they're far and few between. It's easy to like spend money frivolously, but in trying to spend it actually getting an output out of it is difficult. And this felt like, so straightforward. Yes, of course, I can spend, $1,800 and everything I do is faster if it involves my computer. Of course. And it's going to last me like another 5 years. Yes. Can I do that again?
Yeah.
Can I do that twice?
Yeah. I had a similar experience when I upgraded to fiber internet like a few weeks ago. Like, everything is faster. And so it's like, why didn't I do that sooner? And it actually costs less, which is ridiculous.
Amazing.
Yeah. I saw something on Twitter today about like how we worry about like $2 or $3 difference in groceries in our personal lives, but in our business lives, it's like you can drop $2,000 without even thinking,
Yeah.
And I think your experiments to try to like pay professionals for their advice or pay more money in your own life to kind of optimize it like a business have been very interesting for me to hear, because it's like, where can I spend money in my own life to like really optimize things like I might a business.
Yeah. It's hard. Spending money is a skill. And I'm so inspired. Going through this class with Ali Abdaal, he has a machine of like 4 people doing different things in his life that he's paying to just boost his rocket ship of a business. It's beautiful to see. And I feel like this has been very important for me as someone making software that businesses are using. I took so long to adjust to the idea that my software could be worth $500 a month to someone. That, like, oh my God, the imposter syndrome that I felt. Like, what idiot in their right mind would spend that much money for something that you could just, you could spend 2 days learning about SCP and setting up an FTP box. And why would you do this? Or you could, learn the Dropbox API yourself if you were going to do that. Which is the way that I was approaching that problem from the mindset that I had at the time. So, of course, it seemed ridiculous that people would pay that much money. And now I feel like I'm shifting much more towards this business owner mindset of $500 is not a lot of money if it's making you more than $500.
Right.
and is not that much time. And like, that's the context that businesses are thinking about software purchases in. It's not this sort of perverse personal scale of if something is a lot of money, which is like comparing it to eating out at Chipotle or something, of like anything above $10 is expensive. It's a machine that you're building, and it doesn't matter how much something costs. What matters is what's the cash flow that you're getting out of it. Is this making you more money or saving you more time than it costs? And if the answer is yes, pump money into it, of course. So I in practicing this myself, I feel like I have been able to offer businesses better services and be a better B2B software provider. I can be optimizing for things that actually matter, of like, yes, you're going to pay me a little bit more money, and that means that I'm catering exactly to you. My goal is to save you as much time as possible. You pay me this money and you'll never have to think about this problem again, and that will enable you to make so much more money because you can have so many more clients, because you won't have to be thinking about the complexity of dealing with all your different clients' files. That's a valuable mind shift I feel like I've had.
Yeah, it's a great way to think about business transactions when it comes to like software. And yeah, I need to make the same shift. Business software can be worth a lot of money if it saves time or produces value. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have one more thought on this, related to the YouTuber course that I'm taking. It's just got my it's got me chewing on all these thoughts, and then we can dig into the status update. It's so interesting being in this group of people that are very focused on sort of the opposite problem of people in the software micropreneur space. I feel like people in the software space approach business from the side of, how can I build a valuable thing? That I have all these technical skills that I've built up, and I want to be the place where they're struggling is attracting an audience for that thing and the marketing side of it. People in this YouTuber course seems like have a natural inclination to build an audience and share a problem and make videos and help people. And a big part of what we're learning in this course is how you then monetize that. And so approaching it from both sides of, oh my gosh, if you have the skills of being able to build something valuable, and you have the skills of being able to communicate why that thing is valuable and build an audience and relate to people, that just seems like a killer combination. Imagine, if you're a mediocre software developer, you're not going to go very far. And you sort of have mediocre business development skills. And if you're a mediocre YouTuber, you're not going to go very far. But if you're a mediocre software developer and a mediocre YouTuber. Holy cow. Like, you know, if you're getting, whatever, if you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, that's nothing. That's a pittance. It's been funny seeing Ali like go to some channels and just trash them for like, oh, this person only has 20,000 views. They're not taking YouTube very seriously. But 1,000 people who are routinely subscribed to videos that you're watching, if that's a narrow audience and you have software where you can charge them $500 a month, well, you're making $500,000 a year now. Like, it has me so excited of developing both skills in parallel. What are your thoughts on that? Of how, where do you feel like you are on that spectrum of? I think specifically what I'm asking is, you have an unusually big following of developers. I feel like more so than the average business developer. Who started a technical business, you are thinking much more deeply and purposefully on building an audience and making content for them and not just building products for them. How are you framing that? What's your relationship with the marketing side of business?
Yeah, so I felt for a while now that the future of being successful, especially as an indie hacker or as a solo person, is to be able to be good at producing content. So like good at either blog posts or videos. Probably the more high fidelity, the better. So, if people get used to seeing your face on YouTube, that's great. Podcast is kind of below that, and then blogs perhaps below that because they're kind of interchangeable. But the more you can get better at content creation, the better you'll probably do. And that's one reason that I've invested in trying to figure out how to do content creation, like sustainably and well. I feel that I'm still quite bad at it though. I feel the classic kind of developer bootstrapper where I feel very comfortable building things. I don't feel that comfortable pushing what I've built or, getting people to interact with what I've built. The only way I really know to interact with people at a large scale is to just provide a lot of value for free. And I haven't quite figured out how to capture that value yet. That's kind of what I'm working on is, I see exactly the kind of person who you're talking about, sort of, someone who's a semi-good developer and a semi-good marketer who just kind of kills it. And so I'm trying to develop my marketing, content creation kind of chops as well as the development that I have. So I think if you're in this game as kind of a solo indie bootstrapper, you have to have both.
That's an interesting framing. That's the way you're describing the area to improve is different than I would have described it for you. It sounds like you're saying you have the ability to build an audience and you have the ability to build software, but the skill that it sounds like you want to be developing is monetizing that software. Of you know how to build an audience through just offering things for free and content creation and pushing that out there, and you know how to build useful things, but you don't know how to capture the value of building useful things for that audience. Is that fair?
Yeah. Without feeling like I've, sold my soul or something, without feeling slimy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I could talk about this for so long. This is such an interesting topic. Yeah. Okay. One more quick point on that. The feeling slimy is a feeling that I relate to. I'm hearing so many of the bootstrapper ethos echoed in going through this YouTuber course of, here's the formula for making content that will be the most successful, of things like look for videos that were already popular and go to different watering holes and mine them for topics and see what people are already searching for. And I'm approaching this sort of just as a fun creative project of practicing making videos. And so I don't really want to do that. Like I want to make the videos that I want to make. Right. But I'm seeing, of course, if I was trying to optimize for success, like making something that was most valuable to the market, I would want to be acting in a way that would make me feel more slimy, of making the content that I think the market is demanding, as opposed to making content from a more genuine place of I'm making art for art's sake. I'm making the art that I want to make. It's an interesting dichotomy, and I think you feel that too with things like async.dev. That is not necessarily a thing that it sounds like you went about doing market research in a slimy way. We're like, what's the thing I could build that would make me the most money? It sounds like it was a thing that like you just had to make. You had a creative compulsion to bring it out into the world. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely something where I was just like, as a developer, I want this to exist, and so I'm just gonna make it. And I'm listening. I always listen to a lot of kind of bootstrap podcasts, and I'm doing exactly the opposite of everything that they say to do. And we'll see how it turns out. Tune in next week to see how it goes. But it's just something that I want to exist. It's also something. So I'm relying on a decade of professional experience to know that businesses actually do need this. So it's not a shot in completely the dark. Like businesses need to communicate, especially remote businesses. Like employees need to communicate with each other, and so anything that facilitates that probably has a place somewhere. But yeah, like I'm not talking to people first. I'm not doing customer development. I'm not doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. And so it will be interesting. The one thing I am doing is I made a real conscious effort to build in public is the kind of the key word there, but like just put out progress reports during the day as I complete things, mostly on Twitter. That's kind of where I live. And that has been interesting because I've gotten people reaching out to me, saying they want to try it. So that is some validation, although not very much. I also reread. Derek Reimer started Level and then worked on it for a year and abandoned it. And that was sort of similar, which is kind of like an asynchronous Slack kind of thing. And so I reread his post about why he abandoned it. And I was like, oh, I'm solving some of the same problems he was. Maybe this is not a good thing to work on. But in that case, so he was working on Level as a replacement for Slack, whereas I'm working on async, one, just because I want it, but two, because so I see Slack and Async.dev running in parallel. Slack is more like real-time, one-on-one kind of communication, and async is more like one-to-many asynchronous communication. And so they sort of fill different buckets for me. So we'll see where it goes. I'm doing everything wrong, and we'll see where it goes.
There's the title of this episode. Okay, this is a great transition. Last week, you asked me to hold you accountable for this week getting one person on async.dev and also starting your small project with the community developer that you might be partnering with. How did those go?
I did both of those things, so I guess that went well.
Amazing!
Yeah,
good job.
I got one person on async.dev, exactly one other person.
Yeah, you did it. You did the thing.
That's right. I also have another team who wants to use it. This week is Thanksgiving, which is weird, so I'm waiting until next week. That also allows me to polish some of the rough edges I know they're going to run into. So next week, I'm going to try to onboard this other team. We'll see if that works. And then I started the other project. So the goal for that one, so that one's interesting. It's like MeetingPlace in a lot of ways, but it's going to be different and separate. But I'm able to reuse a lot of what I did for MeetingPlace for that. So so that's good because I can iterate pretty quickly. And I think within a week, we'll call it 2 weeks because this week is Thanksgiving, but in 2 weeks or so, I should have like a prototype that she can use to actually run events. And yeah, that'll be interesting to see where it goes. Kind of like what you're talking about. If in one person you have a developer and a marketer, then you've got something good. But here, hopefully, we have a partnership between me, a developer, and her, a marketer, community builder type person. So I'm really excited to see, how she can run with what I can build and see where that takes us.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds ideal. We've talked about this before, but I think having a partnership with someone who's sort of handled who is the audience for this and how do you contact them and how do you make the pitch of why this is valuable and how do you choose features that are important to these people. Just being able to have a person who can solve all those problems for you and you just need to worry about the development stuff that you love doing and are very good at. That's the perfect partnership as long as you're taking it slow enough that you can evaluate if this is actually a person that you like, that you work well with. The biggest risk, I think, in this sort of arrangement is you sign a contract with them, and then things fly off the rails, and you're now strapped to this person who you just met, and it's kind of like a romantic relationship. You need to go on a few dates first, and
Exactly.
take things slowly, and
If you listen to
that's funny.
like Y Combinator, a lot of their stuff is co-founding is a lot like a romantic relationship in that, if you jump straight in, it could work. Like there are arranged marriages that work just fine, or it could fall apart very spectacularly. So,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Try to take it slow, and so we're working on the thing we want to build. We're doing it without contracts, which has its own problems potentially, but I think it's better than saddling both of us with like a new company that we then have to dissolve if things go poorly.
Right.
So, yep.
How are you currently balancing Async.dev and this side project with the community builder that sounds like it's building into the potential future of MeetingPlace? How are you thinking about allocating time and attention between those two projects?
Yeah, it was actually, so part of the reason I started Async was actually just to try out Tailwind 2 and a few other tools.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I wanted to use on this new thing also. And so in some ways, Async was kind of a stepping stone towards this anyway. Basically, actually what I'm doing is taking the Async.dev code about 3 days ago, forking it and making this new thing from that base. It has users, it has, everything all set up.
Yep.
So in some ways it was parallel work. In other ways, so Async is a product where I know what version 1 is. So it's probably there now, but I'm going to spend a few more days on it because I want it to be better. But in a few days, I'll be done with version 1. And so I can then put that out into the world, get a few teams using it for several weeks, and then collect their feedback. And while that's happening, then I'll start the next thing. And so I'm not sure what the future will look like if they both do well. If Async fails out, fails horribly, then that's obvious. I could just drop that one. But if they both do well, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to prioritize both of them. But right now, I think I can kind of waffle between them a little. So Jason Fried of Basecamp talks about this. He calls it TikTok development, which is an interesting concept, which I like a lot, which is you have 2 or more products and you sort of TikTok between them, like go between them. So you work on one and then a few weeks later you work on the other. I really like that as a concept. I have trouble focusing on the same thing all the time forever. And so if I had 2 products that I could TikTok between, I think that would be completely like in line with how I work. It may or may not be fair to whatever business partners I have. So I have to think about that going forward, I don't, if she's working full time and I'm working half time, that's not a good arrangement. So need to figure that out. But yeah, for now in the project stage, I think just switching between them as needed is how I'm handling that.
I love it. That's also very consistent with what I've read about historical disproportionately top performers like Da Vinci was working on, the Mona Lisa, I think, took him like years to finish because he was bouncing between that and, inventing helicopters and war machines and drawing and everything else he was doing. And I find my creative output is the most maximized when I have a few things that I'm working on. I'm still trying to figure out what that number is. I think it's more than 2. And it's definitely less than 12. 12 is too many. And I don't know yet what the optimal range is in there. I think it depends a lot on like my energy and how tuned in my base level systems are. But I feel that a lot of it's so important to give yourself time and space to let your subconscious percolate on the problems that you're thinking about, because I'll sometimes come up with the solution to a coding problem I've been thinking about in a dream. And I'll wake up and think, oh, of course, it's this thing that I could have just bashed my head against the keyboard for another 4 hours and gotten to this point eventually. And instead, I put it down and I went for a walk and I listened to a book and I had a very pleasant evening. And then the answer just came to me. That to be able to maximize creative and productive output, I think having things to be able to TikTok between is very smart. And like you have the flexibility of doing this. It's not like you have a boss that's hiring you to work on MeetingPlace, and if you're not putting 40 hours in, it's you're not going to get paid, or and if you're working on anything outside, the company owns it. You have the freedom to be able to do this. So I think what you're describing feels like for me to be a very natural way to work, and seems justified historically of top performers work in a similar way. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes.
What are your goals for this next week? It sounds like you want to have a working prototype in 2 weeks with the community developer. What's this prototype called? I don't, what can I call it?
What will we call it? We'll call it the community prototype for now.
The community prototype.
If I call it what it actually is, it may. We'll see when I can actually release. What it's actually called. But
okay, yeah. So community prototype. You are going to be pushing forward, TikToking between that and Async.dev, and you said in a few days you'll be done with version 1 of Async.dev. What does done look like?
Yeah. So right now you can sign up, you can do all the things, you can post status updates and stuff. One thing I want to have completed before the team that wants to get on it done is either email reminders or a Slack bot reminder. They use a Slack bot today, so if I could make a Slack bot reminder, then that would basically exactly replicate what they use today, which seems like a really good place. Slack bot, I think, should take like a day to build. So that is the next thing that I have to look at. So I would like a Slack bot. So this is my goal for next week, is to have a Slack bot that reminds you every morning to post something on Async.
Cool. Is there a tangible goal that you can have for the community prototype that you can finish in a week?
Yes. Let me think about when next week is going to be. So taking an old fork of Async, so users can already sign up, and then having it so that you can create an event series. Having a user able to sign up and create an event series would be my goal for the community prototype.
Cool. Sounds like goals for next week are finishing the Slack bot that reminds you every morning to post something for Async.dev, and for your community prototype, making it so that a user can sign up and create an event series. Does that sound right?
That's it. All right. So how about you? How did you do on your goals for last week?
My goals were to do one POM every weekday on Fileinbox, with a beautiful plan to do it immediately after my Groovy emails. And I did it. And it was beautiful and wonderful. And I only did it 3 times. We've only had 6 days since the last podcast, so there were only really 4 days that I could have done it in. And I was traveling, driving up to St. Louis. So success. It worked so well. Slotting that time in immediately after a routine that I already had. That's a great solution. That's, I think, the way to do it. I've locked in now. Atomic Habits works, folks. That's my body and mind are so simple that I feel frustrated almost that the solution to it was that simple. And once I started, I think one day I put like an hour and a half in when I only needed to put 25 minutes. So I very meaningfully pushed forward the development of it. It looks much less ugly than the prototype that I showed you. You actually see a line for each file now. And it's so refreshing to just recode this from scratch, not worrying about the legacy of the code base and not relying on the architecture from before. Because all these ideas that I've had are just bubbling up of, yes, of course, I can architect this in this very clever way. And I can use this new icon set. And I can use Tailwind instead of Bootstrap. So it's just a delight to work on. I can't even explain what my mental block is to start working on it. I don't know why that was a point of friction 2 weeks ago. So that's working very well. The second goal that I set up for last week was to have a list of people, narrowed down from the list of all of my users, categorized by industry. I wanted to take a look at that and analyze it for what the single industry to look at would make the most sense, and then pick that list and be able to tell you, like, this is the list of people that I'm doing. And I did that too. And I realized in the course of doing this data is a year old now, which, oh man, that feels gross. Of like, this is a project that I started a year ago and I didn't finish it. But it's fine. We're no guilt. We're going to push it forward now. So the industry that I picked is finance. Finance, I have 65 users, which is the biggest cohort of people using it, and also one of the highest value per users. On average, a user categorized as finance has paid me $282, which compared to what's a good one to compare this against? Education, the value per user is like $155, so almost half. And then people categorized as using it for personal reasons, their average value is $54. So yeah. I don't want to do them. A second contender, and I don't know if I want to TikTok between these two or if I want to set this up to do next, is printing. I have 37 users in the printing industry, almost the same value per user, $278. And that feels much more focused. Finance sort of encompasses loan officers and banks also, and it's a little looser. Actually, talking through this, I might actually want to do printing because printing would be much more straightforward. Yeah, okay, we're gonna make that executive decision right here live on this call.
There you go, printing.
I'm focused on people doing printing, and then might TikTok with people in finance.
I was gonna ask,
but might just do that afterwards.
Yeah. In finance, if you can you break that down into subcategories? So like I imagine there's accountants, like wealth managers, banks, you know, mortgage lenders or something.
I can't live on this call, and that's a thing that I could do, that I would like to be able to do. It's a lot of loan officers. I think loan officers is going to be the category of people that comes out of those the strongest, both in terms of revenue and in terms of the biggest cohort within finance. So maybe I do sign printers and loan officers, and I'd like to confirm that with the data. I'm also, a goal for mine for this week is to update this data, which is going to involve just like syncing it and then finding newer users and mop up newer users. And then I want to start interviewing people. So next time we talk, I would love to either have already done or have something on the books of a call that I did with them. And that call, I think I'm just going to follow the mom test style interview, but also just keep it kind of loose. My goal is sort of vague of, I just want to understand more about the people in this industry. So I think I'm going to approach this very honestly of like, I don't know a lot about sign printers. I would love to chat with you about what it's like running a sign printing business. And like, yes, I'm particularly interested in problems that you have with getting files, but also I would love to just hear about you and how did you get into this and what are other problems you have? Do you hate your landlord? Is that a problem that you have? And I'm thinking, my hunch is if I have 10 of these conversations, and I have 37 people that I know of that I can pull from, so 10 seems like a very reasonable number. Higher level patterns are going to start to emerge of like, oh man, if these people had an automatic file converter that was flattening PSDs or a way to check what the resolution of a file is, I would save them so much time. And so now that's going to feed into content that I create. I can use all these skills from this YouTuber class to film a beautiful video of, hey, don't you hate it when you have to flatten your PDF and your resolution of your file is too low to actually print? Here's my cute little screencast of showing you how to do that. And you're a sign printer, and I know all the sign printer words. And this page is at fileinbox.com/sign printers are awesome. I think that's the clearest way to start informing marketing decisions and also product decisions. This is a conversation that we had, I think 2 weeks ago, of how do you know which features to build, and are you building features or are you actually improving the product? There are so many things that I could just fall down this rabbit hole of, man, moving files around sounds kind of boring, but like there's just this infinite space of things that I could do to make that better. And if I don't know who I'm building this for, if I don't have very clearly in mind, oh, I talked to Cindy last week, who's a sign printer, and Cindy said she had this problem, and so I'm going to make this feature to help Cindy with the problem that she told me that she had. And after I launch it, I'm going to send Cindy an email and say, hey, I fixed it. And then she's going to send me an email back that says, oh my gosh, this is saving me so much time. Can I give you more money? And then I'll say, yes, of course, Cindy. If I'm not doing that, I'm just in this sort of vague, fluffy space of, well, I'm going to make it better. How am I going to make it better? I don't know. Here's the list of all the features I'm going to do. I'm going to pull one out of a hat. Oh, I'm going I'm gonna do a Salesforce integration or something. If I'm not hearing from real people that they want Salesforce integrations and that is a thing that will improve their lives, it's not a thing I should be focused on. So that's where I am. That's what I'm doing. Those are my goals. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing exactly what I would say to do, which is like think about like, so you have file uploads that exists in some workflow in their day to day, and so so understanding exactly where in that workflow it fits is super valuable. And if you can solve I can't remember where I heard this, but basically, like once you get a foothold into a customer, like if you can solve adjacent problems for them, so like think about the steps just before and just after their workflow, you can do two things, which is one, you write content about it, which is great, and the other is if you can start solving those problems, so like they don't need another tool, then you can capture the value that other tool is capturing too. So like they're giving their clients your file uploader, they're getting signs, and then they're printing them. There has to be steps that you can, solve on both sides of that. And so, yeah, I think that's super good. The other thing I would say is if you have say you have finance and sign printers, one thing to think about is how easily can you capture the attention of those markets. So like if you call 20 sign printers and call 20 finance people, and you get one sign printer on the phone, but you get 18 out of the 20 finance people on the phone, then it's easier for you to get the finance people on the phone. So maybe you should focus there. Do some small experiments about how easily can you get in front of these two groups. That might be interesting.
Okay, I like that, and that's another vote in favor of doing TikToking. If I'm trying to pursue two different groups at once, and I find that one is so much nicer and so much easier to get in contact with, and I just enjoy the conversations I'm having with them so much better, and I can define better as compared to the other group that I'm TikToking with, that seems like a much more powerful decision. And it doesn't seem like that would dilute me too much of having two lists of people that I'm contacting instead of one. Cool. Okay. I think that's what I'm going to do then. If I'm splitting attention between mortgage lenders and sign printers, the benefit that I get is higher than the transition cost of working between those, because now I have context of how easy is it to get one of these groups on the phone as opposed to the other one, and how much do I like them, and how tractable do I think the problems that they're solving are going to be. Yeah, okay, that's clarifying. I'm going to pursue both at once. And I love also how you framed the value of knowing more of the context that file uploading is in the workflow of them. Because now I'm thinking, like, what if I could take over payments for one of these groups? That's a lot of money. If I can now charge a percentage fee, and maybe the file uploading part is a free add-on, and actually the value that I need to be providing to sign printers is a way that their customers can be paying online and doing invoicing or something. That sort of becomes a different product, and I'm not sure how I feel about that right now, but right. That's like what Jordan Gall did, and one of the most successful bootstrappers I know about. So I don't know that I don't know that I can go wrong focusing on a particular group of people and just trying to make their lives as great as possible. Yes, the product may shift, and I might find out that there is a separate problem in the workflow that I'm currently in that would benefit them a lot. And I don't know that that's bad. Like, I'm thinking in the most extreme case, after having 10 conversations with sign printers, I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, sign printers actually need a command line utility to convert between different things, and they'll pay me so much more for it. Right. And it's a completely different product. There's zero overlap with Fileinbox. I think that's fine. I think I just make that my new product that I'm TikToking between, akin to your async.dev, and then test that out. And maybe that becomes more successful, and maybe not. But I'm, if not, now it's a lead magnet for Fileinbox. If I'm focused on the audience, that's the clarifying position to take.
Yeah. At the very least, you have a lot of content out of it, and you can use the one phrase. The one microconf that I remember is the phrase was like, use the customer words, and that like every speaker basically said, interview your customers and use those words in your marketing. So whatever they tell you, put that in all your content. Yeah,
that's incredibly valuable. I have one last question, and then I think we're wrapping up the episode. These are so much fun, by the way. I'm so glad we started this. I'm loving it. I think I don't even know how many people are watching these or listening to the podcast. I was surprised actually. We had like 10 downloads of the second episode, I think.
Yeah. We have even more on YouTube, so check the YouTube numbers.
Oh, I should check the YouTube numbers. How cool is that? Like this is a conversation that could just be lost to the ether, and instead it's benefiting at least one other person that's listening to the conversations too.
Okay.
If you're a listener of Makers.dev, reach out. I'd love to chat with you about like what you think about these episodes. Because personally, if no one was listening to these, this would still be a very valuable exercise for me. I listen to the recordings and I go back and watch the video and to get reminded of, what was my rationale? Why did I decide to do this? What's my goal for last week? It's been so valuable. So my question is, I'm curious about turning interviews into content. I think the easy thing to do is just record it for myself and transcribe it and take notes and then maybe turn it into a blog post or a case study. But I'm also thinking about, I have this flow now of being able to have a conversation with someone and then turn it into a YouTube video and a podcast. Is it premature optimization to try to have conversations with customers that I'm recording and turning into podcasts? Is that too much to handle? Or is that content that I can get for free, and so why not? How would you be thinking about that?
I would think for anything you're going to produce that you want someone to like listen to or subscribe to, who is the person who's going to subscribe to that and listen to it more often or like every week? So like if it's a podcast, you're kind of expecting people to listen to it like every week and subscribe to it. Which may not be what you're after if what you want is customers for your business. Instead, maybe you start with things like, so the most valuable things I could think of are, can you use your customers' names and faces with quotes saying, Fileinbox saves me 10 hours a week? That would be, I think, the most valuable. Second might be like audio or even video clips. So not full podcast things, but like, this is the feature I use and this is how it saves me time or money. And then eventually, if you find like you're getting really good stories out of it, like this real good narrative that you think someone would listen to many in a row, I think that's where you could really put a lot of time and effort into some kind of, recurring series. But until then, I would be dubious about the value of like a 30-minute podcast, every week with some different industry. That's kind of how I feel about that.
Okay, that's clarifying. Thank you. I think I'm going to record it with the aim of getting testimonials and just getting to know these people better. And it would be gravy on top of that if I had a shareable clip that was just a nice little, I'm a sign printer and I love Fileinbox. And if I find that I'm talking to someone who has an interesting story that I feel like would start making interesting recurring content, now that's the point in the process where I can start thinking about starting an interview podcast or something.
I would think
this is too early in the process to try to be optimizing for also starting a podcast.
The other thing you could
cool.
The other thing you could definitely turn it into is like a Skyscraper post. For anyone who's not familiar, Skyscraper post is like a really long post about this is everything. So if you're a sign printer, this is everything you need to know about file uploading, including templates and downloads and, intersperse like audio and video clips into the post.
Ooh, I like that.
And so like as someone's reading, they can have, a 3-minute clip of someone talking about how they use it. And then you kind of explain, so those do really well for SEO. They take a long time to produce, but if that's really a segment you're going after, then yeah, just a big long post explaining exactly how you would use it. Might do really well.
That's the thing that I can be growing organically too. I don't have to come out swinging with the perfect post.
Right,
after one interview, I can write a draft of something that talks about how that person uses Fileinbox for their sign printing business, and then be adding to that. I like the idea of interspersing testimonials and short video clips. That's a cool idea. Oh, and then I think I do the post first, and then after I've had my 10 interviews and collected all the important information from each of the interviews that I've had in the Skyscraper post, I think then making a video or some piece of content or pieces of content from that would become trivial. A lady just kicked her dog outside. That was terrible.
Oh.
Oh. That's so sad. All right, new focus. I'm going to go deal with this lady. That's my new goal for the week. Cool.
Man.
That's all I got.
All right. That's all I got too. Go
Neat.
deal with the
I'll
lady.
see you. I'm going to. I will see and hear you next week.
All right.
And have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. You too. Talk next week.